Welcome to Cultivate 2023. Super excited to welcome you all. And before I start, to set the context, I would love to share a story with you, and we'll then dive in. 2 months back, I was on a road trip, meeting some of our customers, met one very large customer with more than 100,000 employees, and was discussing with them how they have deployed Eightfold, what's working well for them, how they are using it, how they are getting the value out of it. And while they talked about everything, to my surprise, he started talking about a RIF process they are going through and how he was able to use Eightfold to redeploy just 20 people a week. But he was able to save the jobs of 20 people a week. And he was thrilled because it meant a cost saving of more than $1 million a week for them. But personally, what got me most excited is we are making progress towards our mission of enabling the right career for everyone in the world. And that is what I'm here to talk about today, share with you all. Thank you for joining me. This is our third Cultivate event. Last year, we did it at Napa. Many of you joined us over there. It was a fun, full 2 days of networking, learning, meeting each other, and drinking a lot of wine. So we were struggling. What can we do to make it even more exciting for you all? And we tried a number of ideas. Finally, we had to make Lakers win last night. And they are going to be staying in this hotel tomorrow. So if you're around, make sure you go say hello to them. But welcome to Cultivate 2023. These are exciting times. I mean, 6 years back when we started Eightfold and we talked about AI, it was like, why are you guys talking about AI? Why are you trying to geek out and be in the HR world talking about AI? But guess what? Today, even my nanny is saying, can you tell me more about AI? When I'm calling my mom, she's no longer asking, like, what do you do? Jobs, employment. She's like, AI. Tell me more about AI. But AI has become mainstream. It is a talk of the town. It is a talk in every boardroom, every conversation. And we will share a lot about AI, how we are doing it, why it is important, why it is essential, and how you can get the best out of it. But combined with that, the world is changing extremely fast. It almost at times feels like we are on this pendulum that is swinging left and right. 2020 March seemed like the world is going to fall apart. But by October of 2020, the craziness was unprecedented. We went from investors calling, saying that let people go to higher, higher, higher. And right now, no one knows what's going to happen. So the world is changing. And what is enabling this change? What enabled COVID, and as a result, people working from home? What is leading to this fast development? Underlying everything is the concept of skills. And we'll spend a lot of time talking about skills. Just in the last 8 months, the number of queries on Google around skills have gone up by more than 40%. Everyone is talking about skills. Many of our customers, partners, are calling me, asking me, Ashu, can you tell us about skills? How do you think about skills? How do you use it? Why skills are important? Or what is even a skill? And to really understand that concept, I have to, again, tell you a story. So a couple of weeks back, my wife was traveling. I was alone with my young son, who turned 6 yesterday, who is in the background over here. His name is Ayansh. We threw a party at home, invited 15 colleagues from office. And Mark and some other people are here. They can attest to that. Believe it or not, 6-year-old, after the appetizers were done, this guy started cleaning the table, to everyone's surprise. As soon as the lunch was done, dinner was done, he cleaned up the table, stocked the refrigerator, cleaned the dishes, put them in the dishwasher. And if you're wondering how I've trained him, or you want to hire him, no, I'm not going to give him on loan, but I can tell you offline afterwards. But more importantly, right, I mean, this is actually a true story. He loves to clean. He loves to organize the dishes. He makes the kitchen better, cleans better than what I can do, our nanny can do. But why am I telling that story? What is it that it tells me about him? Why am I excited? I think that's the important thing. His skills are not just cleaning the dishes or dishwasher or loading the dishwasher or putting things in fridge. That is not what I'm excited about. What I'm excited about is if I look at the patterns of the people who love organization, who have attention to detail, who are meticulous, these are the most important power skills today in the market in demand. So hopefully he will be able to use those power skills to make wonders in the world and when he grows up. That is what I'm excited about. And that is what we call potential at Eightfold, and that is what we are here to talk about, right? But I can do this for one person. For my son, I can talk about like these are the skills, this is the pattern, this is how it maps. I can do it for 5 people, 10 people, 15 people. But there are 2 billion knowledge workers in the world. I can't do it for everyone. But to be successful, to really change this world, we have to do it for everyone. And that is where AI comes into play. Some people call it AI, some call it machine learning, data science, statistics, genetic programming, doesn't matter what you call it, right? Its key thing is learn from the data, make sense out of it, right? And it's not a new concept. AI was coined in 1955. Although it has become the household term only 67 years later, it is already changing our lives. Anyone of you remember calling AT&T 10 years back? And no offenses to AT&T, but it will say that, can you please repeat what you said? And you will keep pressing 0 to get to the operator, but it will keep asking you, forcing you to answer. In fact, I even thought of changing my name because I couldn't pronounce the letter T in my name. But today, when I get up in the morning and I ask Alexa, Alexa set an alarm, it knows perfectly what I'm asking and does it. That is AI. Or when you're driving a Tesla and it helps you navigate through the lanes, through rain, through sun, snow, that is AI. Now, the thing that fascinated me most during my PhD was learning around, so I'm a PhD in machine learning, my undergrad was in electrical engineering, and as part of that, I learned about how CT scan works. First, I hope no one has to ever go through that. All of you stay healthy. But if you ever go through CT scan or MRI, it is really signal processing at its best. It is analyzing millions of X-rays that are piercing through your body to come up with a reconstruction of your body. And that is what science can do. It is a mission-critical application on which your life depends, your doctor depends to diagnose you, to see whether you have a tumor or not, right? So AI has been part of our lives. And 6 years back, we decided to bring it to HR. Why? Because that's the only way I can understand skills. That is the only way I can understand jobs. And people come and talk about, let me understand the people, profiles, all those things, right? But underlying this whole thing is really understanding of skills and understanding of roles. Each one of us have more than 3,000 skills. But key thing is through AI, I can understand what is relevant for which job. And after that, many of you are using Eightfold. We have built a talent intelligence platform that integrates with your enterprise workflow systems, whether it is your applicant tracking system, your HRIS, your learning management systems, and so on, brings all the data, makes sense out of it data, but more importantly, to help you manage the entire talent lifecycle. 20 years back, when I was leaving IBM, my dad asked me, Ashu, who leaves IBM in a year? But 20 years from now, when this 6-year-old is working, I won't be surprised if he says, Dad, who works in the same company all 5 days of the week? That is actually the world we are living in. And so in that world, we have to think about the entire talent lifecycle, whether you're trying to help people, retain them, improve diversity, succession planning, growth, learning, any of those things, right? And when you do that, outcomes are there. You get value, whether it is about time to hire, quality of hire, diversity, retention, reduced attrition, engaged employees. And one of the other stories that I learned during this trip was one customer sharing how they are getting the productivity enhancement of more than $35 million. Have you ever wondered how much time the interviewers are spending interviewing people, or hiring managers are spending time on calibrating the role, or as a recruiter, you are spending time going back and forth, calling candidates only when people don't respond. That is a productivity enhancement that is extremely material to your company, your organization. Think about it, right? Average attrition today is 25% across the globe. And if a rack remains open for 2 months, what is the cost to you of that? That is the value Eightfold is able to bring to you all. But to understand all this, what is happening in the world of AI, how AI is enabling it, why we are suddenly seeing the excitement around AI. This is where I'm just going to geek out, talk about some of the basic fundamentals. And the one that is probably the most surprising for you is storage. There was a time when Bill Gates stood on a stage similar to this and said that you will never need more than 1 MB of storage. Computers with 1 megabyte of storage are good enough. In fact, before showing up today morning, I was looking for a floppy drive. I couldn't find one. Now you're wondering, what, like, this is an AI conversation, skills conversation, talent conversation. Why am I here talking about storage? This is not an infrastructure conference. This is not an AWS conference, any of those things, right? Why storage, right? Because this has enabled us to store every bit of information. This is the single most fundamental advancement that has happened over the last 20 years. When you go to Safeway or your favorite grocery store and buy a gallon of milk, the only thing it knows is that the gallon of milk you bought. And you might be buying a 2% because you couldn't find the 1% milk over there, or a skim milk, or a whole milk. But today, when you go to Amazon, they know each and everything you look for, what you search for, what you bought, what you didn't buy, what you put in the cart, what you saved for later. It knows everything. And as a result, we have gotten data hungry. We start to collect every piece of information. The second thing that happened over the last 20 years, I'm sure many of you know about Moore's law. Fortunately, it is still continuing. And now, the amount of compute that we have available to us is massive. It is insane. Not only we have the ability to store zettabytes of data, we have the ability to make sense out of it. And that is one of the biggest changes that has happened over the last 20 years. My advisor, when he did his PhD, he would take the images and label them manually and try to process them in 1966. And here we are talking about zettabytes of data. Now, what has happened as a result of these two things? This is the most exciting thing. I'm sure, like, is there anyone in this room who does not know about ChatGPT? One person? Probably not, right? But how many of you knew about large language models a year back? Probably very few, right? I mean, they're not new. Work has been going on for years. And what you're seeing on this screen is how the complexity of these models have increased. What you see over here, it talks about the number of parameters this model has, the complexity of the model. Any guesses how many neurons are in human brain? 90 billion neurons. You see that dotted line? That was a time when the complexity of these models surpassed the complexity of human brain. And then suddenly, all of us heard about ChatGPT. All of us heard about large language models. The output of these models start to make sense now. And no wonder the excitement that we have seen in the society, in the industry around ChatGPT, but more importantly, ability of large language models is massive. Now again, sounds good, but this is a HR conference, right? This is not a ChatGPT conference. The relevance of that is we are going to see more advancement in next 5 years than we have seen in last 25 years. And I won't be surprised if I'm terribly wrong about this one, and we end up seeing more advancement in the next 5 years than we have ever seen in society. Because we are going through this exponential curve of development. And as a result, every role is going to change. All of us are talking about, right, how HR is going to change, how the role of a recruiter is going to change, how the role of sourcing is going to change. Recently, like there were conversations where tech companies are at risk because now content can be generated through ChatGPT, AI. So if you're a content writer, things are going to change. Like a few weeks back, as I was traveling, meeting all these customers, I decided to show my poetry skills. I used ChatGPT to write a poem, send it to my wife. And instead of I getting the love back from her, it was like, oh, this is too good. You have not written it, right? But that just shows how these roles are changing, right? The role of software engineer is changing. Content marketer, search marketer, everyone. And the reason I'm talking about that is, as a result, it's no longer with HR to manage the HR organization, but really think through how the rest of the company is going to change, and how can you ensure that your organization, your company, stays ahead, because anyone who does not adopt with this change will be left behind. This is the thing that I worry about most. When I talk to fellow CEOs, this is the most common conversation: how I need to restructure my company, how I need to reorganize, what new roles I should have. It's no longer important to have content marketer or content writer. Only if Google had a content validator role, they wouldn't have had the mishap with Bard, and they published a video with a bug in it, right? But every role is going to change. And to understand how these roles are changing, how organizations should evolve, the single most important thing is to understand skills. And once you understand the skills, what skills your people have, then instead of being a static organization where only tools available to you are either hire during the peak of the market, or unfortunately let people go during the downturn, you can now really think about how to redeploy the people, how do you upscale, how do you grow your talent, who you should hire as a full-time person versus not, and not only that, truly transform yourself into a skill-based organization. Because now compensation can be driven by skills. Everyone talks about diversity, but diversity is not at the we really have to start thinking about diversity at the skill level, because that is when you will, as an organization, make wonders happen. So coming back to the story that I opened with, when I was talking to this organization, a 100,000-person company talking about saving the jobs of 20 people, what got me thinking is, how can Eightfold enable them to not only save the job of 20 people, but maybe 2,000 people, maybe 20,000 people? Because none of us can do these exercises on spreadsheets. So with that, with the years of work, bringing everything together, I'm super excited, thrilled to talk about skill-based talent planning. Today, we are announcing the launch of Eightfold Skill-Based Talent Planning, so that going forward, you understand your organization, you are able to understand every people in your organization, you are able to make sure that your organization is always future-ready. It is agile, it updates, it grows over time. And the very first thing as part of that is helping you understand your own people. Today, all of us spend a lot of time interviewing people. But the implication of that is we know more about our people on day 0 than day 365. If you were wondering in my company who is a blockchain expert, good luck. It's almost impossible to find that piece of information. So what Eightfold does, by integrating with various systems, by using AI machine learning to understand people's skills, potential, helps you provide talent insights which help you give visibility into what talent you have, where is this talent, what skills are present in each role, what skills are going up over time, what skills are going down. But that's no longer enough. Because in the beginning, I talked about like how we are going through economic swings, but it's just not economic swings. It's the market disruptions we are constantly going through. Many of you today represent telco. If you are from a telecom industry, you have gone through the challenges of 5G, right? Let's adapt our workforce to 5G. If you are someone from banking industry, I'm sure you're still wondering whether you should adopt crypto or not adopt crypto. Every week there's a message, one says that crypto is going up, next week crypto is going down, right? But do I have the talent with that? So what Eightfold is able to do is take all these trends that are happening in the industry, use that to understand how these skills are going to evolve over time. My conjecture is that coding is going to become a very irrelevant skill just over the next 2-3 years. So if these skills are evolving like this, what is the meaning with respect to implication with respect to every role in your company? These roles have to evolve. You have to adjust to these changing roles. You have to adopt tools and technologies that can enable you to get a scale even when these disruptions are happening in the industry. So making sure, as an enterprise, you are able to build future-ready roles. And once you have that, now you can talk about true talent planning. What are the people I have? What skills they have? In what role they are? Which of these people can be redeployed to a future-ready role? Which of these people need to be upskilled to a future-ready role? Which of these people can be moved around? Where do I need to hire more? And once you do that, right, it's good, it's exciting. But all plans are worth nothing if you can't execute on them. So tying it back to the entire Eightfold platform so that every action now in your organization can be driven based on the learnings, based on the planning that you all do. Whether it is to understand who to hire, around which skill set, so that next time when you're evaluating people, you are not only evaluating them based on the role requirement, but also the future readiness of that role. You are able to redeploy people effectively at a scale. You are able to provide them a self-serving platform so that every person can go and upskill themselves. Or you are able to leverage contingent workforce so as to make your organization a lot more dynamic. Eightfold skill talent planning will become the platform that is going to power all these activities. But this hasn't been done in vacuum. Many of you have been doing bits and pieces of that, giving us the feedback, learning. So I'm very thankful to our partners who have graciously agreed to be on stage to share their journey, their stories with us. I'm typically a shy person, low speaker, but thanks to Starbucks, their caffeine, that I have the energy to come and speak to you all. But really, it's an honor to have Starbucks here, the household name, to share their story around how they are using Eightfold. Magnet, this is a very interesting one. Many large companies today, for example, like Google, 50% of their workforce is actually contingent. These are no longer the full-time employees. And that gives them the flexibility to scale up and down very, very quickly. So they will share how they are using Eightfold to enable this thing. We'll hear a lot from Krishnan, from Hydric and Struggles, but I'm just thrilled to have them here, to learn from them, to hear their stories. And finally, EY. Not only they are one of the largest auditing firms in the world. As we have spent time with them, I'm just surprised to learn how forward-thinking they are when it comes to skills, how they are using, and we will hear from them, how they are using Eightfold platform to build a skills foundry to bring upskilling to Fortune 500 companies across the globe. Now, I can go on and on and on talking about these things, but There's a book that I've written recently that talks about deep talent, how we are adopting all these talent strategies. We are giving away a copy of these books, so please feel free to collect your copy as you walk outside. It talks a lot about Eightfold Talent Intelligence, AI, machine learning. So with that, I'm thrilled that next 48 hours will be a lot of learning, excitement, but make sure you make new friends, talk to your colleagues, spend some time getting to know about each other. Because it's not about HR, it's not about talent, it's not about AI, it's not about machine learning, it's not even about ChatGPT. It is truly about employment. Because if we make employment better, we make sure that everyone has a better job, we will leave the world a much, much better place. So thank you all for joining me today.